show starts in 1 minute. Good evening, folks, and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family.
Like 9 out of 10 film stars, Raquel Welch uses Lux Beauty Soap.
Well, no, I like to be a woman and a man to be a man, you know.
We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see. We hope you have a wonderful time.
Whoops. Well, a bit rusty. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Longhouse, the weekly show for the most sensible of centrists. I'm a little bit under the weather because I thought I made it, but I barely didn't make it out of the Witan 2023 without getting the convention cough. So if I had to mute myself at random points, it's probably just because I'm coughing. Like now. I have tea and herbal remedies, so I think we should be good. Yes, I already kind of spoiled it in the intro. This week we are going to be reviewing our time at the Witan 2023, which was in the week in the weekend that just passed. Ludwig Path, how are you doing?
Hey, people. Well, doing well as usual. So I was a little bit sick coming home as well, but I seem to be getting better. Not too much coughing, but you know, I mean, it's sort of par for the course, right?
Yes, but I also remember sitting there at the Saturday thinking, because in the hall we were having along the talks, the AC was always like a bit too cold. I was thinking to myself, I'm going to get sick from this. This is like typical. You sit there for like 6 hours a day, right? And you're always slightly cold. And you put yourself in like a bacterial flora or whatever that you're not used to, right?
The UK experience, it's just always a little bit too cold when I get there for some reason. So, but I was better dressed this time, both formally and in terms of like dealing with the cold. So in case that, you know, was better, but it doesn't help.
No. Leo Borealis, you're here as well. You were with us at the event.
Oh, yes, I was. Good evening, everyone. Eventually, I managed to get home. Took a little while, but better late than never.
I think we'll get to that a bit later, but you certainly had your trials and tribulations in getting home. I managed to barely escape it. Like, thinking about it, I was really close to be caught by the same thing as you guys. And I'm a bit surprised I didn't.
It happened more or less like, you know, half an hour after you have taken off. The thing the thing happened, but more about that later, I guess.
Yeah. Herlock Sholmes asks, did Morgoth look the way we all imagine? Well, I don't know what you imagine, but he certainly looks like a Morgoth. I can tell you that. He is what he is through and through.
Well, I was thinking about how he would look, right? And I was just kind of imagining the sort of stereotypical, like the tweed jacket, sixpence cap with the bulldog, kind of like straight English bloke. But we got a better alternative. He looks like the North FC meme, basically. Like if that came into real life,
he looks like the guys they pick out to play sort of the background characters in Game of Thrones when they're in the North. Sorry, the North, right? And I guess that works out because I mean he is a Northerner, so
yeah, you would not be able to sort of pick him out. You just hear it. You can just hear the voice signature. Like, damn, I've heard that before.
Yep.
Ah, right.
enough about that. Let's see here. Anything in the chat? Nathan CJ Hood is in the chat. I want to thank Nathan publicly again. I talked to him about putting some of his recent article in my talk, and I think I ended up with like 1.5 paragraphs or something, and it really slotted in quite well. So thank you again for that, Nathan, for being a champ. So the first thing I had on my agenda was just general talk about getting there. It worked out fine. Now, Burkarl isn't in this chat. He couldn't make it. But he had some trouble getting here. And this sort of relates to Leo's troubles leaving as well, because we talked to our taxi driver and he said there's a lack of staffing in general at Heathrow, but specifically, air traffic control and all that stuff. So when Burkarl arrived, he was supposed to arrive like an hour after me, or half an hour or something. So the plan was we all just take a cab to the event. And he got stuck for like 45 minutes circling Heathrow, trying to get a slot to land. And then another like half an hour sitting on the runway, waiting to taxi to a gate. It was horrible. And I don't know. I haven't flown to Heathrow that much, but from what I understood, it's actually nothing new. It's been going on for a while.
Yeah, it's been on the way there. It was really a combination of things. I mean, they've had one of these small labor strikes going on, but the big thing was that there was a kind of a bad weather front that went over south of Heathrow from the English Channel and then up towards the North Sea. So we were actually from Arlanda in Sweden. We were, I think, 40 minutes late because we were sitting on the tarmac and just waiting to get a takeoff slot because they wanted it to go away before they let us up. So we didn't have to circle around and to avoid it and take up airspace and airtime unnecessarily. So we actually landed about the time that that everyone else were supposed to land, and we were supposed to be an hour or so before you guys. But yeah, Burkarl really had it tough. I mean, they had to circle for 45 minutes to get a slot. Once they were down on the tarmac, they couldn't find an open gate because they were all used, so they sat 25-30 minutes just out on the tarmac until they could get out up to a gate. And once they got to a gate and got off, they didn't open the doors from the gate into the terminal. So everyone stood like, was it 20-25 minutes inside the gate ramp before they opened it and let them out. So yeah, Burkarl was not happy when he came off. And he was wearing a woolen shirt because it was kind of chilly. And
I remember he was complaining about how hot it was.
Yeah, I mean, his back was just, so like someone had put a bucket over him. Not a happy camper.
Yeah. Tim Miller says, are you guys going with the rug merchant's plan to whinge about Americans until you somehow win? Sincere question. Well, Tim, if you ask me better questions, you'll get some answers. You can ask that question, but you have to ask it better than you did. Well, yeah, there were some hiccups in getting there, but overall, we managed to get to the event quite without any issue. And then in my notes, we're still on like a bit of pre-event stuff, but this sort of relates to everything. The point, it just says bong food, which is British cuisine, and I posted. Let me bring up my Twitter actually. I posted twice when we were eating cuisine outside of the event, which was Thursday evening because I was eating fish and chips. Here it is. And I got we went to this local pub which had been, do you want to say refurbished? Do we want to say upscaled? Not like incredibly, but it was slightly hipsterish, right?
Yeah, I think it had been renovated with all the taste and fingertip sensitivity of the English interior decorator, which means that they had cut through load-bearing walls, whitewashed things that shouldn't be whitewashed, and installed carpets everywhere. So yeah.
What I didn't expect was what I posted as. I figured I have to go with the fish and chips because we're in England. Yeah, I know, Nathan. I know never order fish when you're not near the coast, and I didn't expect much. What I didn't expect was for everyone to dunk on the fries. What's wrong with the fries in this? Are they? They said they were supposed to be more soggy.
It looks like a sensible fish and chips portion to me. I don't know. Is there something particular about this one that we're supposed to notice here?
No, the only thing I wanted to ask people in chat is that I got comments that the fries are wrong. That's all. Someone posted this at me. I love this one. But then on Sunday night, we had this. This was great. This was lamb roast with whatever the hell this is. This
the weird
butter,
bread.
Yeah, some strange croissant-like bread, which was really good. The flavors were great. They were deep and rich. So, eat more pub food, I guess, is my takeaway, because everything else seems to suck.
Probably. But that bread thing had a really weird, texture. It was like like those shrimp chips you get at Asian restaurants, like that, but done with.
People are saying Yorkshire pudding. Is this a pudding? It's literally like croissant dough, just shaped like a. No, yeah, I can understand that it looks like something else.
So what's inside of this thing? Is it more
Nothing.
meat or
nothing? It's hollow. He has turned it upside down on the picture, so it looks like a cup if you had it the other way around. So it's kind of like 5 millimeters to a centimeter thick, and it's like really crispy, like a shrimp chip.
I've never heard of this before.
You're supposed to put the other food inside
I've
of the
never heard of this
shrimp cup?
No idea. What is the weirdest fucking thing I have ever seen?
Hang on.
Apparently,
what's the difference between a Yorkshire pudding and I don't remember what it's called, like the patisserie that the French do, which is like the same texture, right? The puff pastries. Is there any ingredient difference?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just
it didn't taste any different.
No, it's just butter dough or something that like in a Danish, but
no, it was good. Like you dipped it in the sauce, you used it to clean up your plate. It was great.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious if there's any like ingredient difference. Anyway. Overall, I mean, you guys had some food as well at that pub, and I suspect that was good as well. So my review of Britain is eat pub food and you'll be okay.
Yeah, more or less. But something that I don't understand is the English obsession with green peas. I mean, they had green peas to fucking everything. Everything. In various forms and shapes.
Yeah, they put it on everything. Yeah. Interesting.
So it's like the British version of corn, then, I guess.
Maybe. I mean, peas are good. It's just I'm not used to have it. I think it featured on like a good 70% of our meals.
Yeah, easily. I think the only thing we didn't get it to was when we were there in Oxford with Aaron, and had lunch.
Oh yeah,
on the
yeah.
Thursday.
At the pub with that's true.
Yeah. Which was also the only time I actually ate a pie. I mean, it was good, but I mean, it was like a pork pie
Oh yeah,
with
you had an actual pie.
onions.
That's
Yeah,
right.
with green onions and I think chicken in it from this weird combination. And then there was like turnip mash and something else. Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
had.
it was red kale, boiled red kale. I thought it would be
Oh yeah, it
seasoned.
wasn't even sauerkraut. Yeah, that was a weird one.
No, I mean red kale you usually boil in, wine and have some spices in it, but this was flat, not even salted water. It felt like. So I was like, okay, it's
Yeah.
slightly boiled red kale, fine. Which led me to observe at the time that, well, this is just German food with less salt and butter and put in a pastry.
Don't
More or
yuck
less.
sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is great. All right. It
Yeah.
really, really elevates a dish.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did you visit any monitors? No. So okay. So let's skip. I think we're done with the food stuff for now. So I guess we did a bit of socializing on Thursday and Friday before the event began because, as we said, we got there a bit early, and we met a German consequent Fry. Actually, he's in the chat. Hello. And we hung out with him and who else? It was the gang who went to Oxford on Friday.
Yeah, we
It was
had
us
just hung
three.
out with Oren McIntyre.
Oren
McIntyre.
McIntyre.
No big deal. We just do that stuff. So
and a couple and Consequent and a couple of other guys, and so we just walked around, chatted, had lunch. Leo and I bought toothpaste because we forgot. Oh, and I just remembered. So the self-checkout things in England are kind of weird because they have this like weight. So everything you buy, you have to put on the like bagging area, which has a built-in weight. And that weight has to match some sort of standard based on what you've scanned, right? But if you try to buy like a bottle of water and, a small tube of toothpaste, it's really hard to get the machine to recognize the difference in weight. So
the alarm goes.
No,
Yep.
well, no, but it doesn't let you check out. So it doesn't let you pay for your things. You have to like fiddle with it for like 5 minutes.
Here we once again come into the issues with the British not British technology per se, but rather the British implementation of technology and how it interfaces, or rather not interfaces with itself.
Right.
With hilarious results.
Yeah,
welcome to the future. Yes.
Yeah.
And this was
sorry, but we have all these technologies, right? I mean, we have the self-checkout lane, and you get like the receipt with the barcode, and you have to scan
we don't have the weird
out,
dystopia parts that the English.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a little bit sort of 2023 to complain about. Yeah, we have all of that other stuff, but we don't have the weights. But I mean, the weights add like a layer of distrust to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they'll. You have to get the receipt to actually get out of the store, and you have to scan everything.
Oh, actually, at my local store, they stopped doing the receipt to get out of the store like a year ago. I think it broke, and they just never bothered fixing it.
Based
so you just leave.
Yeah, but I mean, you made the tweet, Walrus, about this like refrigerator, I think, at your job or something, where you just go on the mobile app and you just say that, okay, this is what I had, and then you pay for it. So that's like high trust. And the slightly lower trust is
I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of record of like, there's some way people could go back and look at who most likely took something, right? But the idea is that no one really operates that fridge, right? You just take the things you want.
But I mean, with the weights, it really goes kind of down to a T there. It's like, okay, maybe like you bought 7 packs of rice cakes and you forget to scan one of them or something. It's like, up, no, we got you this time. You're going to have to, every single gram is going to go on that scale. And it will match to.
And it doesn't even work that great. right?
Yeah,
On
and of
top of
course,
it, it just kind of doesn't work.
It's irregular, and the weighing is off, so it's just a much less smooth experience. You trust the store less, both because of the suspicious elements to it and because of the kind of like the tech, what do you call it, all of this kind of tech overhead BS that you're subjected to. So yeah, generally, this is, I've noticed this too, also at the airports, like the Brit technology in general.
Narco Republican says too many speed cameras along. That's another thing I noticed. There are cameras everywhere. Or at least there are signs telling you there are cameras everywhere in England. That's not something I really feel at home.
No, it was just added to the undercurrent of dystopia. Low key dystopia.
This is
Even
1984 stuff, right? That Judas Priest
but
sing about. And yeah.
You didn't really think about it that much when you were like in the old part around the colleges inside Oxford. But once you just like on the way in or on the way out, when you just left the dense inner core and just got a half a mile out from the city center, and all the dilapidation set in, but all the cameras were still there, and it's like, yeah, oh boy.
Looking for a chat here. Did you partake in the trough? Says not sure. What I did want to do, I was hoping that I'd stumble over like a trough of Prime before we got to the venue on Thursday evening, because then when we did the Longhouse live, I would have opened a bunch of Primes and had you all taste it. But alas. All right. So socializing on the Friday, and then of course the event itself began. We got to meet Dave the Distributist, which was great, who opened with, "Oh, you're the Longhouse guys, I love your show." Which was quite surreal to have someone like Dave approach you in that way.
Yeah, that threw you a bit.
Yeah, it did.
You can see your head spinning like 360 degrees on your head. It's like,
yeah, I was like, that's not the way it's supposed to go. I'm supposed to say I love your stuff. But I had a couple of episodes like that, and I really enjoyed everyone who said that they like our stuff. I really appreciate it. I guess I just underestimated the reach we apparently do have in this sphere. So hey, hello everyone listening. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Yeah, I mean, I had a bit of the same sort of experience. It's like because I've been watching so much YouTube, right? So it's kind of like when you're at the airport or something and you see someone who's a celebrity and you recognize them, and you kind of like, damn, it's just like this slight starstruckness or paralysis that comes in. Of course, that goes away quickly, but you do sort of feel like that. You don't know how to approach people, and then you get compliments like that. It's pretty cool. So yeah, shout outs to everyone we met.
Yeah. Do you want me to bring up the program, or should we talk about the venue first?
Well, it's a good question. Maybe we could start with the venue. I think.
And you're my strongest soldier, Nordanon. So.
Yeah, I think it's better to maybe we can start with the venue and finish with the speeches, because I think it's better to end on a good note, as they say.
Let's do that. So we're going to compare, aspects of the venue to last year, and I will start by saying that overall the venue was a lot better. Just the quality of it, the location. It was in a very nice forested area. It felt a bit more. We had a lot more space, I feel, than last year. And the rooms were, I would say, about the same, but in general, the accommodations were a bit more modern. Any comments?
Yeah, I seem to be the only negative Nelly here because I genuinely thought like the last year's Witan was way better, just in like every single aspect of what we did. But
I
maybe I
will
was like
say,
particularly unlucky with it. I mean, like the place we were at, it looked like if you played Resident Evil 1, it's like that mansion inside there, and I mean that it really does work well for the type of event we're doing, like this kind of elitist thing. But the corridors were like slightly, almost kind of dizzying with how the layout was set up, and there were just certain issues I think with the venue in terms of staffing, how exactly
yes.
things were pulled off, and so on. Like
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but like I never had my sheets changed by anybody. Basically, they didn't come and get my towels. Usually, I'm used to like they'll if you have 3 days, they'll have your sheets changed maybe like once per day. That didn't happen.
Really?
You had issues with the food generally, and
Well, I mean,
some
yeah,
issues with
you're jumping
the
ahead of me a bit here
yeah.
because I mean, I was just thinking about the location and the buildings, but I do agree that the service and the food was definitely worse than last time.
But yeah, if you think, yeah, it's sort of the look of the venue, it's like no, it had a much more sort of epic feel to it this time. I mean, I hate to use that word; it sounds cringe, but if you go for this kind of old world English feeling, right, with
Mm,
the landscape in the background and like the outdoors areas were great. Like we took a walk out there to take a look at it, and I mean that was really really nice. So I will definitely compliment it on that. But I mean, in terms of
I'm gonna be,
the
I'm gonna be.
facilities themselves were sort of a little bit let's just say some of it needed renovation, I think.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
gonna be
second
gay
that.
for a moment and say that one thing I actually missed was a smoking area like we had that last year, and that's not because I really care about the secondhand smoking that much. I just hate when it gets into my clothes. But the problem is that when there's no smoking area, when there's no like dedicated smoking area, even though it's large, right? Everywhere becomes a smoking area, which means that all of my clothes after like 2 days were just was just filled with like a smoky smell. Well, the smell of cigarettes. How much I tried to air it.
But
So,
Walrus, that's the reason why God invented dry cleaning.
well, sure, but there's no place to like no way to dry cleaning out there. Do you think the staff there would
Nah,
know how to dry clean my stuff?
nah. I meant afterwards, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah, no, I
you're
don't
right.
care about afterwards. I just don't like when the fresh clothes as well are starting to become infested because everything in my room smells like cigarettes, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Okay.
Like when I brought out the nice suit, if like, okay, what am I gonna bring the cigarettes with me because this is okay with this nice suit? But I realized that everybody's just gonna stand smoking everywhere, like cigar smoke, pipe smoke, hookah smoke, e-cigarettes, regular cigarettes. Like it's just gonna be blown everywhere. So it's like I just thought like fuck it, we're just gonna jump in there and
Yep.
it'll just
No,
be what
this
it is.
Yeah, but
going
we
back
haven't
to the staff. Sorry.
touched upon the on the greatest. I really liked the juxtaposition from like the old manor house, the bricked up Italian garden, and then cell block D.
Right.
That was just fucking
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's
And this
literally
is
what it
where
was.
you will socialize, and here is where you will sleep. I'm gonna say, yeah, right, it is the frog gulag.
The friend prison. Um, Going back a moment, yes, the service had some issues. I don't know if they were understaffed. It was or if it was just that it's summertime, so all the staff is undertrained. Whatever it was, they just weren't on the ball with a lot of things. They were slow at refilling refreshments. They were bad at communicating. They had misunderstood our program, etc., etc.
Yeah, by and large, I mean the much of the staff. I mean, there were some that seemed to be on top of things, but they had to, juggle all the other staff that seemed to have very little training in the service industry. I don't know if it was like, we came in just as they were moving from prime to off season, so they had, shunted their regulars into, had every late summer vacation or something like that, or how that, you know. they just had it that way. But yeah, I got the feeling that a lot of the staff was, newbies at the gig, more or less.
Exactly. And the best part was probably during dinner on the Saturday, where, I mean, first of all, the food wasn't very good. The actual meal itself was the breakfasts were very good. The dinner on Friday was good, albeit a bit sort of, trough. I have to feed 100 people type food, but the tastes were good. On the Saturday, they were bland. They were just. It wasn't even bad. It just didn't taste anything. The chicken was dry. The sauce tasted like nothing. Yeah.
I just got the centralized feeling that they were just not had any experience of doing food in that way for that many people at once. They were just winging it, and because you could see, because the breakfast was quite good. I mean, it was held a steady quality, and
yeah, they obviously knew how to do breakfast.
yeah, the rest are just cocked up.
Yeah,
it wasn't good at all. I mean, first of all,
and again, you get sort of the frustration of this isn't even. It's not even bad. It just doesn't taste like anything, right? It's like you didn't even bother to reach for the salt, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Lack of seasoning on my food, sir. This chicken is not seasoned.
Yeah, zero seasoning. The only thing that tasted something was that potato croquette that they had way too much black pepper in, so it just tasted of the fucking black pepper.
Yeah, that's the only one with any taste.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, for feeding like 100 people at once, I mean,
well, yes, I wouldn't go with chicken breast. That's the thing. If you're going to feed 100 people at once,
that's like
and you don't have a sous vide, which they obviously didn't. Don't go for chicken breast as your main course.
The menu selection was just like, if you're gonna do this for 100 people, you don't put up a menu like this. This is suicide to make this. I mean, this is a variant of that food could have been done, but then you need experienced chef and a hell of a lot of equipment. As you say, you need a large-scale sous vide system. Yeah. You need a lot of things to make that work.
Yeah, last year the dinner was great compared to this.
Yeah,
it was kind of back to the service again. I mean, our table didn't have knives, which we were like kind of halfway. Like we asked quite early on, please, can we have some knives? And they were like, yeah, we're going to bring you some knives. And then, like halfway through the main course, Burkarl is doing his best trying to chop his chicken with a spoon. And we're almost finished with our meal, so to speak. And they come up like, are you the guys who needed knives? And this guy, this young guy server is like holding, I don't know, in his hands, he probably has like 25
all the knives they still had in the kitchen or something like that. It was like an enormous amount of knives, and just
we were like, yeah, we're the ones who needed knives, and then he just dumps them in the middle of the table. This is pile of knives. And then he just runs off, and we're like, all right.
Yeah, it's 8 people around the table. 8 knives would have been enough, not 40. It's a little bit,
drops knives, refuses to elaborate.
Yeah,
leaves.
Yeah. So overall, the service part of it and the food was a negative. The bar was slow compared to last year. There were a lot of these like minor things, right? Which I think, as you said, Ludwig, you dislike this compared to last year, and I would almost agree. When you sort of put everything up against each other, I think this one loses out. Although, if I was Shieldings and the guys who run this place said, well, you can come again next year, we promise we'll have better staffing, we know what you guys are about now, right? I would probably take it if I felt like I could trust them, right? Because the potential there is a lot greater
Oh yeah. I mean, last year it was like a really like a mid 2000s kind of downscale conference 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 hotel. It was kind of it's clean, it's whole, and it's nothing is broken and stuff like that. But it's kind of meh, but it works.
Yeah.
But it can never be more than what it is in a sense. This can a little bit of work, and it could have been a lot better. But as you said,
But the
like
thing
barkeep,
is,
I mean,
yeah,
you could tell that these people have zero experience working behind
exactly.
the bar.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They don't have can't see when there's more than 3 people in the bar, they start breaking down
They
because
just shut down.
yeah. I mean, they can't take tabs. I mean, like, okay, you want this, great. Let's just sign it out. One take payment. The other guy starts just starting beers and just put them. I mean, there's no workflow. There's no training. They just like,
Yeah.
okay, and this is how we pour a beer.
That's why I'm thinking if they solved a lot of the staffing and service issues, I think it would be a lot better than the last venue. But I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if the
noticed
shieldings guys would even want to entertain that, right?
as a sort of general thing that they, cash payments was a lot harder in Britain this year than last year. And I had some of these taxi drivers comment on the same thing, that it's becoming harder to pay with cash now. But I mean, it's an issue, like you said, if they can't take the tabs to your room and they struggle with the card terminal, with like it has like a bad connection to the net and it's very slow, and they also won't take cash, then like a 3-man line at the bar just becomes like a very long line all of a sudden. So, I mean, it's not just boring for us. I think in terms of profitability for the hotel, there's so much friction there with the transactions that there's probably a lot of stuff they're losing out on in terms of just like really high margin payments that they could have gotten in if they had these issues sorted out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was a lot of these little things, which is like, why did you do this like 75% of the way? Why didn't you just do the job right? And it would have been so much better, which becomes very frustrating. Okay, I think that's enough about the venue.
Oh yeah, I just want to put up one single
Sure.
thing that I found was really humorous, again with the bars, because like the big bar out there, they didn't have Guinness because that one ran out the first night,
Oh, right. Yeah.
and they
Okay.
didn't
Yeah.
have Star Promen at all. But then when they opened the small bar, where they on the other side of the dining hall,
Mhm.
just by our conference area, that one had both Star Promen and Guinness. And when we were standing there at times, it did run out, and the guy went, ran behind, and obviously put on,
Refueled
put
the
on a new
yeah.
steel keg
Yeah.
for the draft system. And they did it multiple times. So that means that behind that bar, they have a tap room and a stash of those two things. But somehow they are not able to take the thing that, oh yeah, we're out in the tap room behind the large bar, like 50 meters away. No one made the connection that, oh yeah, okay, people come to this bar asking for these two products at all. Maybe we should just go to the other tap room, get a couple of steel kegs of those, put into the other tap room,
So
and
the
put it
entire
on tap.
weekend they were out of like
Yes.
unless there's some weird old system they have
No,
in that old
I
bar. I
have
can't
fixed that
imagine
in.
it's anything other
Oh,
than steel kegs, right?
no, it's just simple. I went past that corridor and sneaked in when the door was open. It's standard steel kegs, and the draft
I
system
don't
is
get it.
fairly modern. So this was just
They
big
did it
hole in
for
the head.
like one of the employees did it for the cider at some point. So
Yeah, sure.
I don't get
I
it.
mean, it's
I don't get
just
it.
how it was a lot of that. How the
I mean,
of course they can carry
Wow
them.
Wow says it's women behind the bar. They can't carry them. I've worked with plenty of women behind bars who are able to carry those things. It's
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
not
if
that
you just
heavy.
have a work ethic, it's not that hard.
Yeah, and it's 50 meters down a hallway. And
Yeah.
if not, they probably have a small trolley, one of those.
Right. Yeah.
because presumably they use them when they get them in from the
Exactly.
yeah. Because then you don't
Yeah.
want to carry them all the
Every
way. So
place
you
has
gotta have
something
one
like
of
that.
those.
Yeah, you have them. Or roll them, worst case, right? I mean, just get the bear where the people with the money are. Right?
Yeah, how
That's
hard
like
can it be?
that's like rule
I mean,
number one of
Yeah, I mean,
having a bar.
we have product that we want to sell. Over there are people who absolutely want to buy our product. Should we, move the product over there so they can buy it from us? Nah, fuck it.
I
What?
don't get it. Oh, Liquid Swan coming in hot. Hit that like button and remember to comment, subscribe if you haven't already, guys. Let's do it. Let's hit, I don't know, how many subscribers are we at right now? Let me check my channel. I'm at 2.3. So if I can hit 2.4 subscribers this evening, that would be great.
It's also kind of funny. We have to
Join
get
the
in,
Walrus
an edit search
Nation.
American to remember to shill for us.
we have to import North Americans to shill. I love it. On that note, let's get on over to the program and the talks. Let's see here. Share the screen. You license, and I mean, that can't possibly be a thing. All right, so on Friday night, we had an introduction by Maven from the Shieldings guys, which I thought was nice. And then we were supposed to have dinner, but the staff had messed up our timings. So we shuffled around the program and did Oren McIntyre and Academic Agent first. And then we had dinner. And, well, do you have any comments to Oren McIntyre's talk first?
Well, it was. I mean, it was formalistically very good. I mean, Oren is always, on point, I would say. But in this topic, you can really see that he has been a school teacher in his former professional capacity.
Delivery is certainly.
Oh yeah, there were some rapid fire things going on there.
And because of that, I do understand why, because I heard he had asked to be one of the first ones to speak, and I get it, because his talk basically laid the groundwork for all of the rest. Sort of, it created, him and Academic Agent sort of created a vocabulary that a lot of the other speakers could bounce off of for the rest of the weekend. So good on him for choosing that spot specifically. He knew what he had. So I just was a bit confused when he led out with that sort of very technical, that very like lecture-like analysis, but it worked out really well in retrospect.
Yeah. So just to explain for the audience, what Oren McIntyre's essentially was, the talk was based in the work of Nick Land, more or less, about the functions of entropy and extropy.
And yeah, talking about the sort of postmodern philosopher influences, it was Deleuze and Guattari, territorialization, deterritorialization, reterritorialization. Bit of a tongue twister there. But I mean, these are difficult concepts sometimes, right? Even with Nick Land, like Nick Land's work seems to be very impenetrable. I think that's one of the strengths of Oren McIntyre, is he can take these kind of very kind of dense, impenetrable concept and explain them to you like you're 5 years old, which he does really well.
Yeah.
Of course, with these talks, like my general commentary, both on his and Academic Agents, because they like in my head, they're sort of very similar style talks. A little bit like if you go back to the previous event, there were some talks like this, like say like Dan Tubbs' talk about the sort of economic systems collapse, and it's really sort of the kind of energy, the sort of general idea here is like, okay, well, we're sort of screwed in a sense in the system. It's going to be bad, and you can't escape the fact that it's bad. You can't do anything about the fact that it's bad. We can just sit and discuss exactly how far on the doomsday clock we are. That's kind of that's sort of a discussion. It's like, is it 5 minutes to midnight, 2 minutes to midnight? 1 minute to midnight,
yeah.
and that's it. And all sort of there's no point in really asking questions like what we can do about it, because you can't do shit basically, which is a bit of a bummer. But it's of course okay to have these in the first slot, so you can have some more optimistic or maybe practical talks coming later, which it did.
Yeah, I think it worked out really well in retrospect. I was a bit confused, on Friday night, but after Saturday, I figured, oh, actually, everything all fits together quite well. AA talked about, it says here, 10 lessons from cynical history, which is 10 lessons he has sort of condensed down based on what he has been doing for the past year, which is writing the Prophets
is that
of
a
Doom.
typo here? Is it supposed to be cyclical history?
Yeah, it's cyclical
okay.
history. Yeah. Which was also nice because it, as you said, it's a bit of the same thing where it's okay. He defines that everything's going to shit. He defines how everything's going to shit, but what's left but discuss, as you said, how far we are on the doomsday clock.
Yeah, I mean, his speech, he has his sort of familiar style. He can also explain concepts in a very good way, like with his teaching background, and he is funny as well. Like, sort of what I like about his talks is that he's able to present these concepts with his charm, and they are also quite funny, even though it's a very
lighthearted,
bleak topic to go through. And there's like some new vocabulary stuff that he brings in, like probably in Prophets of Doom, like the idea of like the spark and like the what do you call it, like the Imperium? What was that term?
Imperial altar.
Imperial altar, and
he's really good at creating new words or
neologisms
to condense topics.
So, but yeah, his comments on like the roles of intellectuals and conservatives in history, it's very funny, and it sort of kind of tries to sort of reinforce exactly where we are, kind of as a movement, in contrast to sort of the standard conservative or the standard intellectual, in a sense that it's not sort of worth clinging to, trying to maintain Hank Hill. Well, he said something like that. It's like we're fighting for Hank Hill's ability to grill more or something. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're trying to do.
No. But then again, he also didn't really have a way forward, right? In that, those 10 lessons don't really tell you what the way forward would be, except that at some point, someone with a spark are gonna birth the next cycle. Leo, any comments here, or should we just move on?
No, I think you said most of it. I mean, the Spengler looms quite large,
over everyone
this
weekend.
Heavy, glaring out of every,
In my talk, I had like, I think it was 4 sentences which introduced Spengler, and I just, went with a pen and just removed them from my talk, because I was like, I don't need to introduce Spengler. He's been introduced twice already.
Yes, someone will already have said, optimism is cowardice. So
yeah.
There's that. I see here also Herlock Sholm says that all participants were Indo-European except Beer Carl. That's correct. That is why Beer Carl had to fly in via Terminal 3.
Right, exactly. And if you don't know the difference between Terminal 2 and Terminal 3, you have to listen to our Longhouse Live, which is now behind member paywall. So hit that subscribe button. Okay, moving swiftly on to Saturday. Do you guys want to talk about my talk, or should we just skip it?
Well, your talk was good, and a lot of people thought it was good.
My only commentary on it. Yeah. Well, there's 2 things that are going to be my commentary on it. I have it on record that Burr Carl said it was his favorite talk, or at least the one that resonated the most with him. And I got called out by the Dawn of Swindon himself, Carl Benjamin, in his talk as his favorite. So I'm very happy with that.
Well, yeah, even Morgoth was positive about you. Yeah, spoilers, everyone, but that was the mystery speaker. But yeah, he put out a Substack about the event, and he mentioned your talk there as
Oh yeah,
one of the
that's
ones
true.
he enjoyed. So
Yeah, well, as I said, I also thought it was the best one, really, for the same reasons as Bear Call. And
Very good. Now, my talk
just-
was, for those of you listening, was titled "What is Entropy?" And well, half of that was about trying to define entropy in a bit of a metaphysical sense. What that means for a society, what that means for you, and what it means to stand against it. And I leveraged the work of Spengler, obviously, Renee Guénon, James Burnham, and sort of built this sandwich, I guess, of layers of entropy, and then tried to define what it is exactly we're standing against and how we should relate to it. And as I said to you, Leo, the more and more I wrote, the more and more I realized that, I had to use poetic language, because I basically spent 40 minutes trying to communicate a feeling that cannot really be put into words. So,
more or less.
Yeah.
I think you did good.
I got a lot of good feedback, and I'm very happy for that. Some people remarked that it was slotted too early for how dense and somber it was, but I can't really control that, and I do appreciate actually the organizers putting me in that slot, because it's not as high pressure as some of the other ones. Next up is Johan Kurtz. Any comments? I really enjoyed Johan Kurtz's talk. He basically had a takedown of Bronze Age pervert, was basically his talk. Not necessarily all of Bronze Age pervert. I don't want to mischaracterize him, of a specific piece of Bronze Age pervert, which is very hard to do, because Bronze Age pervert is very much a character, right? Bronze Age pervert is a sum of all of his parts, more than he is a set of beliefs. And but he hit on something that was good, and I think he attacked it in a good way, and I ended up agreeing with him on it. Well, the Q&A session he got, because I think he's a Catholic, which really just turned the whole Q&A session into like a mini mass where the Catholics can, talk about Catholic things and try to avoid thinking about the vitalists. I didn't really enjoy that, but it was like 10 minutes. So thoughts, prayers?
Well, I can't really say anything, because I after your talk, I went for take a 15-minute lay down and promptly fell asleep. So
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna catch the blurred and bootleg the variation once it comes around, once the guys get finished processing and blurring over faces and stuff like that. So
yeah, same for me. Unfortunately, I was in the sauna.
You guys didn't go to that. Okay.
So I sort of regret it in retrospect that I missed it, but I sort of like, okay, well,
I will say that everyone should, if you go to Morgoth's page, or if you just search Johan Kurtz on Twitter, you'll find his Twitter. You can find his Substack. His work is very good. Don't let my Catholicism comments, that has nothing to do with his work. Of course, apart from him being a Catholic, but his stuff is really good, and you should follow him. Okay, Pharaoh at 1 p.m. One of my contenders for my favorite talk, just because I enjoy listening to Pharaoh. Pharaoh is good at delivering his points and taking you on a journey through, time and place, and which is why I love his show. All of the things he talks about when he talks about fashion, etc., is great, and this talk was great as well. And some may think it wasn't very, I heard some people say it wasn't anything special, but I mean, I really enjoyed it. I just had a good time sitting there listening to it and being taken in by the things he were talking about.
Yeah, Pharaoh is always good. I mean, it was a bit of an issue because I came in late for this one, and like the hall was sort of filled up, and the tables were round. So it's very hard to walk in there and get a good seat. So you had to kind of be in the back and stand by the door a little bit. So I missed some of it, but the parts that I did see, I enjoyed quite a bit. Very silent.
Oh yeah, I didn't push the button hard enough, so
I'm too
nothing
weak.
happened. Yeah, too weak.
Hello? Am I back?
Yeah, did
Now
you
you're
fall
back.
out? Yeah.
Oh, there we are. Okay, hello.
Well, any finishing
Moving
comments on
on.
the Pharaoh? Yeah, we'll just move on.
Yeah. No, I've said everything I wanted to say about Pharaoh. If Leo was asleep, then there's no point in going on. Next is Fendavilier, which is the other one on my top list, just because of the energy. Fendaviliers was great in real life. He had a very good aura, very good presence. Talked a bit to him in private. He seems like a great guy. He basically talked casually in his talk about sort of his movement from the art world into where he finds himself today, and the way he did that was amazing. The way he took you on that journey, the way I don't know, there's just something about the way he carried himself that was great, that really brought you along with him.
Yeah, he had a great presence. So of course there are people who were sort of critical. Say if you compare him to some of these other influencers who are more kind of knee deep into their own kind of academic niches, or like they have some sort of specific idea, or they sort of
We have enough of that. That's my
Yeah,
point. We have
they
enough
derive-
autists and theory cells. I mean, we need
Yes.
some guys who can lead the charge, and Fendavilier is certainly someone I would
Yeah,
follow.
but yeah,
in that
Fen
sense.
is a charisma machine, right? Great mustache, great energy. In general,
looks a bit like
enjoyable.
Oswald Mosley. That's a plus.
10 out of 10. Looks like Oswald mostly.
Any comments, Leo? Were you still sleeping?
No. I actually caught the end of Pharaoh's. No, I actually caught Pharaoh's speech, but then I got into a small silent discussions. We went out and with a friend, and then that small discussion took on a life of its own. So we were just, I saw the first 30 minutes and then like the last 10 minutes of Pharaoh's talk. Sorry, Pharaoh, if you're listening. I'm sure it was great. I will catch the replay. Yeah, but Fen was really good. I concur in you with that. He had this. Yeah, I mean, he was more or less bouncing up and down on stage, going back and forth, and large gestures and that. He was really passionate about what he was talking about. And we also had like a couple of long discussions on the during drinks and cigar time in the wee hours. It was really nice guy.
He was. So, next up we had Dave the Distributist, who had a talk named "What I Saw from the Colonies," which was a lot of people's favorite talk. I can understand why. It's up there for me, but it's not. It's not my favorite necessarily. Dave talked about. Well, he spent some time in his youth in England, and he has a picture of England that didn't reflect at home in California. And then once again, when he went to England as an adult, the England that he remembered from his childhood also no longer exists. So he's a good speaker. He, I don't know, it was solid. It was good.
This is like watching
it tugged
one
on
of
the
these...
heartstrings of all the anti-Americans in the audience. So
it was like watching one of his streams live, right? When he's just doing these kind of
Pretty
talks
much, yeah. Yeah.
that he's doing, and you get to see him live. And of course, like with Dave, like the bar is just set so incredibly high for everything he does, right? So it's I mean, the talk is like basically about the concept of the colony, right? And then England colonizing America, and then America colonizing England through this kind of more cultural export, and kind of the way out of that. But
and
yeah,
say
his,
that his speech is bad. I mean, the quality of all of these speeches are incredibly high, I'd say.
yes.
So it's just about picking like which one was your favorite. But I mean, anyone who listens to this who didn't go, I'd recommend seeing every one of these people, right?
But yeah, Dave is like, kind of like the Metallica of our sphere, right? You kind of you know that it's good, and you've heard the songs so many times, but you're not going to be shocked by the thing. It's like, okay, it's not going to catch you out of left field. It's like I didn't see this coming or something. So, but yeah, generally enjoyable. Dave is always kind of the highlight for me in these events.
Theo, thoughts?
Well, I really liked Dave, or Dave's talk, but the way he framed it was also more like, kind of reminded me when he does video essays. It's a story, and it has its ups and downs, and loops it around, and he has it kind of, what do you say? It's not a direct way. No, it doesn't a direct way. He rambles around before he gets to
like
the point,
that. Yeah.
and he comes back to certain points in the rambling story, and ties it back again, and that one ties that one back again. So it's a really good format, I would say. Yeah, I really liked it. But I think have you seen a couple of things that Dave has done? And as Loddick said, the bar is really high. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. So I think that means that he was really up to snuff. But considering what he was talking about, also means that it is probably more interesting for the Americans rather than for us. So
that might be true. Yeah. Again, I'm sure someone like AA really enjoyed it because of he'd get an American say bad things about America. Let me check here for a moment. Let me just doing settings in the background here. Ludwig Path, you sent me a message that should be fixed now. After that, there was dinner, and then Unpopular Opinions Live. And Unpopular Opinions Live was a lot of fun. It was supposed to be more expanded than it was, but I really enjoyed the panel of the grumpy old Gen Xers, which was Academic Agent, of course, as the host. It was Dave the Distributist. It was Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin, and then Morgoth, who just pretty much, well, for the first half, they ate pork pies and rated pork pies.
Maven brought in like a huge sack of different sorts of these so-called pies.
Yes, consumer says far right pork pie mukbang. Yes, the four horsemen of the dissident right, and they talked about pork pies for a good part of half an hour. I've never had a pork pie like that in my life. I've had pork pie, but I've never had one of those. You buy them. I mean, they're not cold. I guess they're just like room temperature from the supermarket.
Yeah, plastic wrapped and
Right.
Ugh.
I've never had that. I can't imagine that would be good.
Well, I wasn't sure, were they supposed to be eaten cold, or should you have them in the microwave
I don't
or something?
know, but they just ate them right out.
Seem to be no, they can't be that you heat them up, since they're there's aspic or jelly in them. So to a lesser or greater degree, as much of the panel debates were about, but if you warm them up, I mean, that will just melt, become liquid.
Right.
So I don't think they're meant to be heated up in that way, then you probably need to have
You
a
eat them
different
cold, says
composition.
people. People are saying you eat them cold. I got the impression because one of the guys on the panel said that miners used to take them down into the mines and eat them for lunch. That they would sort of at that point be a bit more room temperature. Anyway, after that, of course, the big thing that had struck the morning or the morning after was, the morning before was the Donald Trump mugshot. So you talked a lot about that, and then it was social time. Is there anything we want to say about social time?
They put a lot of effort into doing this sort of music and light show. Actually, the problem is that I just don't think it was the time for it. It seems like nobody really paid any attention to the music show, which made me like I felt a little bit sad about it almost, because I saw that how much effort they had put into it. But
I'd
it's just
almost say
people
it
were
wasn't the
just
venue for it, because if they had set up outside, it would actually have been a lot better. Because at the time, like, you've been inside all day listening to talks, right? You've eaten dinner, you watched Unpopular Opinions Live. Everyone wants to get out, have a beer, have a cigar, and stay outside in the cool sort of night, and hang out. And I think if they had been outside instead of inside, it would have meshed a lot better.
Yeah, and I mean, it is the type of crowd of people who are there. That's everything is just very intellectual, and people come there to talk to each other. So there's just not the mood for kind of music in a sense. I just don't see these people breaking out dancing or anything like that, right? So it's very kind of single-minded in that sense. But it's really more about kind of like the cigars and the conversations that go on through the night.
Was that they would that people would break into dance. I think you're in the wrong crowd. But I don't know what the aim was, to be honest.
It was a little bit weird and out of place, to be honest. Like, what is going on, really?
Yeah. So socializing on Saturday was a lot of fun. Hanging out with people, talked to a lot of different folks. I talked to quite a few times to. Is it it's a guy called, he calls himself Alex the Steam Guy. He was a nice fellow. You and I talked about Christianity versus perennialism, Leo, with what was his name? I forget.
Yeah, the guy.
The guy.
Yeah, British Bean or something like that, I think.
British Baran, yeah, I think that's him. Yeah,
wow.
There it is.
It's wrong and saying.
Talked to Fan de Villiers a bit. I talked to Sargon a bit. I talked to Maven a bit. I talked to a lot of random people. Fun time. A lot of interesting conversations. Good stuff. Green River says, it was an attempt to involve more parts in the sphere in the event. The cathedral is a DJ that does music nights in London for our kind. Well, it's a good attempt. I think do it again, and next time prime people more for it. You have to, especially with that room, like that crowd, you don't get those people into that kind of thing. You have to build it up more, I think. At which point it might just be easier to say, nah, I'm just going to do something else. Move on to Sunday. Yes. Sunday at 10, El Laren was really hungover, but still managed to deliver a really good speech about Junger and his sort of stoic ride the tiger mindset, which I really enjoyed. Delivered a very good speech. Thoughts?
No, I concur. I was equally hungover, but mostly. But I only, only have myself to
I was
blame.
smart.
I was up.
It was like 2 a.m. We were deep in a conversation between like Evola and Jesus, and I just had like this moment of, you should go to bed.
Yeah,
You're gonna thank
I
yourself in the morning. Otherwise, it's gonna
I
be
didn't.
6 a.m. before you know it. And I listened to the voice for once.
Yeah. I thought I'll just stay up a little bit longer and then I'll go to bed. And then I got embroiled in a discussion with Fendeville and AA. And then Fen fucked off and I went to bed. And me and AA sat up and talked some various metaphysics and weird stuff until I think what was it, 4:40 or something like that. And then I was like, okay, we really need to go to bed now. It's almost 5 o'clock.
Problem
So,
is you have to sort of to get in on the. I really enjoyed talking with, say, Carl Benjamin, etc. But there's a lot of people crowded around those bigger influencers, and it makes sense, obviously. But you sort of have to outlast everyone else if you want to get them in a one-on-one. And at some point, I just give up. All right.
Yeah. Well, no, good one, but that's also the problem, because you have these really late nights at these events, and you're not as fresh as you would like to during the first half of the day. So it feels like
You need to have
those are
mandatory
not the ones
social
that you
time
really
during
want
the
to
middle of the day.
yeah, you really want to look at the once they get
God.
the face blurrings done with the tapes, and just have a look at it again when you're clear a little bit more foggy or less foggy.
Sunday at 11 was Matteo Pellegrino, which I would say is a bit of a dark horse in this. I don't think anyone. Well, I think you went to this talk with a lot of preconceptions or no preconceptions at all, and I think in both cases you would have been surprised and entertained. And I really enjoyed myself listening to Matteo, and I wish him all the best in his expedition, I suppose. Even though my talk is more or less the opposite of his. But then again, as I said to him at some point when we were talking, when people hear of other people in this sphere, entertaining ideas of, I'm not going to say fleeing, that's not the right word, but moving to different places to try to build up societies that are more robust. How a lot of people sort of tend to think that there's only one way, either like all of us leave, or what was we talked to Ludwig Path when we talked to Liquid Swan. He suggested, where was it?
I think he suggested these places as Argentina. I think was one of them. Some parts of Russia, and
either we all move to.
He's in the
either
chat,
we
so
all
could,
move to Paraguay, or none of us
Yeah.
move. But I think having the sort of wherewithal to allow the people who want to do that move do it, right, and establish an international network, I think that's good, right? We can attack this problem from two angles.
I'm sorry, Liquid. It was Brazil, wasn't it? It was sort of parts of Brazil that he was suggesting.
Right.
Yes. There we go. But yeah, the international network, I'm all for it. So
yeah,
it's a good take.
It is, and it was an entertaining take, and it was a joy to listen to. Any comments, Leo?
No, I think I've said it all, really.
Very nice. Now, at this point, even though I had been good, this next talk was when sort of the weekend caught up to me, and I had to go and sleep after lunch. I barely got through lunch, and I was like, I need to go take a nap. And then I fell asleep until right before Morgoth were supposed to speak. So did any one of you go to Constantine Bockwell's talk?
Yeah, I did. Well, how do I say this? What essentially he was explaining were a very variant upon, well, traditionalist metaphysics from a Catholic view, or rather from a Catholic standpoint, and was bringing a lot of like Gnosticism and things in it. It was let's say a bit all over the place. I mean, and it very yeah yeah, more or less. It was the D&D
what is
lore.
going on here? What is the
No,
D&D
no,
lore?
the real problem was that he didn't keep to one viewpoint of metaphysics. So he sort of took off in nominally within the sphere of tradition, from capital T tradition, and then just went into Catholic Gnostic mysticism, and had were kind of he crossed the reservation, left it, entered another reservation, and then went into a third reservation. So it's like,
right,
okay, these things, and then, by the way, and then through it all, he had kind of this dry commentary on things that were bad and not good at all, always from a very, very Catholic slant and viewpoint. So it's like, okay. So I mean, he was knowledgeable and on point, but for what he was talking about. But I just think that he kind of as I said, when you take from everything and just mix it up in a bag, it becomes D&D. So
right. So it said a lot without saying a whole lot. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, more or less.
I
think it was
fair enough.
A little bit too broad. People just got confused because it was a little bit too much, and then, I mean, even I, who was knowledgeable on these things, thought it was okay, you're a little bit all over the place here now. If I am having trouble following you, then most of the people in this room will just go, huh?
I understand. Yeah. Especially if you're, I mean, that's something in my talk that I had to redo and redo and redo, is to make sort of the through line of the talk make sense. Make the, now I'm going from here to here, right? Now I'm going from here to here, and make sure that you're basically pulling the listener along with you so that they don't get confused. And that was the most difficult thing with writing a talk that I haven't experienced before. So I can certainly understand it. So then there was the mystery speaker, Morgoth, which was a lot of fun. I talked with Morgoth a couple of times before his speech, and every time he said that, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, right? In his accent. And he was like, I'm probably just going to whinge about technology and then have a chat with everyone. And I told him to embrace the Bowden and just have a pub hangout. And that's pretty much what it turned into. I mean, he had maybe 15, 20 minutes of planned speaking, and then it was just question time for like half an hour in which he just talked with people. It was great.
Yeah, Morgoth really had a good talk. I thought it was really fun that he referenced Soul Reaver 2.
Oh yeah, that was a deep cut. Yeah.
Yeah, there was some deep lore right there. But it was like, okay,
Yeah.
who many? And he asked the audience, okay, so how many people in here are old enough to have played Soul Reaver 2 on PC when it came out? And it was like 8 of us, including Morgoth.
And mine is purely an accident as well. It's basically just because there was like a demo disc my dad got in a computer magazine at some point, and that's the game we had, right? So it's purely a roll of the dice that I knew what exactly what Morgoth was talking about in that moment.
I actually played that because I played the entire, I only played parts of the Legacy of Kain series when it started coming out because I thought it was kind of good, but it was kind of fun to look around at a few old guys raising their hand and just the blank stares of the Sumerwaffen.
Yeah, like, nothing, right?
Nothing, no fucking idea what it was. What?
I wanted to do a Longhouse on Soul River actually. At some point, I've just kind of lost.
Maybe we should
lost the train on that. But
educational piece.
I think there should be enough to write on. Actually, I'm surprised that nobody else has done that at this point. It's
me too, because Soul Reaper fans tend to be very, very fanatical as well.
Yeah, it was good games, but I mean, part of it is also that they took since it's an older generation of games, you were kind of limited what you could do technically, so you had to lay it on thick with story instead. So it does a lot with limited technology, and
then there was the DVD player.
The return to tradition of the DVD player.
Which I'm very glad Sargon brought it up. Very glad Sargon brought it up, because when he said it, I was like, well, why did you just stop at the DVD player? Why not go to VHS? Or why where does it end, right? But yeah, Morgoth has returned with the V to the DVD player. He has forsaken the modern streaming platforms.
Now he has the little ritual that he described, that he must go over to the cabinet, find the DVD that he wants to watch. He has to kneel in front of the DVD player because it's on a low TV bench.
To the machine spirits.
Slide. Yeah, so how to get his head down to see, because it's kind of dark. Slide it in, rise, go and sit down in his chair, and then start it. It's kind of really funny that he went through it, and he described it also as, oh well, it's a ritual, I like doing it.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Yeah. But there were some good discussions to be had about that, and certainly his point of view is very valuable in this. The part where I disagree with him on is honestly that I think many of the things he's afraid of, many of the things we see happening now in terms of technology for control, is not going to be sustainable. AA and Oren McIntyre talked about there is a possibility that you can get out of the civilizational cycle via transhumanism. If you have enough energy, enough speed, you can basically just slingshot yourself out of via technology out of the problem of a cyclical history, right? The problem is that I don't see us doing that. I don't think we're, the competency crisis has already hit. The AI we have made so far is still kind of shit. All the technology we make is still kind of shit, right? It's actually and not also, that good.
Also pertaining to the many fears Morgoth had. I mean, much of it was talking about there. I was like, dude, much of this is not on the horizon. It's already happened. I mean,
already happened, but it's just happened in like a boring, shitty way. That's the problem.
Yeah, right? Everyone thought it was going to be cool, but it wasn't. It's just mundane and didn't work as advertised. But I also that was also a thing that they were talking about. The Landian idea that you can, as you said, if you can technology yourself with enough. If you can just technology hard enough, then you will win the next election. No, right. But get out of the cycles. But I think that is really that's just materialist cope. The only thing is that that someone would think that is because you don't really, you will just enter a different cycle. The cycle will look different. You might get to a higher permutation, but in the end is that the higher you go, the longer the fall back down to earth again is. I mean, okay, so you technology yourself into becoming a tier 0.5 civilization that you can, spread through the solar system and colonize these fucking awful moons that we have hanging around. Perhaps, get the first expedition out to the next solar system or something. It's gonna be shit. And also, what do you do when something goes spectacularly wrong and this extremely complex system just starts falling apart? Well, everyone who
Exactly.
is not a sustainable biosphere will die in a week. So it's just going to be a horrible
I
crash.
just don't see us getting to that point. I see the system falling apart long before we get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course,
I mean,
dealing with that and dealing with the fallout of that, as Morgoth did talk about, is very important and something we have to be prepared for. And that was, I think, part of my talk as well.
yeah, sure. No, I don't think that the problem there was a really Morgoth thing, because he was more worried about the cashless society and stuff like that. And you know how well we know. And then less than 24 hours, the competency crisis hit in full force.
All right,
And
let's deal with this now. Actually, this is a good time to do it, Leo. Tell us about your journey home.
oh yeah, that was fun. So I'm supposed to fly out at 6. And so we're still, me, Birkollen, and the German Frei is still at the hotel. And he's going to Stansted. I think we were going to Heathrow. Me and Birkollen, that means so. Well, we're starting to look at, okay, we should get a cab and stuff like that. It's about an hour after lunch. And we're just sitting around in the lounge, talking a little bit, browsing our phones, just make it passing time, because no one of us want to sit all day at the airport, so we can sit all day
Right.
at the hotel instead. Much better. But the couch is not that much people. So in any case, then we see a thing that, oh, whoopsie dipsy, looks like the Brits fucked up their their aerial traffic control system, and the entire network is down, and the British airspace has been closed. So we start poking around and say, no, it looks like things are going as they will. And we start phoning up our airlines, and the airlines say, no, should
Everything's
be
looking
running.
fine.
Yeah, looks okay. So probably because they haven't gotten any information from the British airspace ministry, whatever they're called. So they kind of assume that this is a temporary issue that will be quite rapidly fixed, and there will be, of course, be some form of delay, but at this time it's not really. Yeah, Morgoth really memed this into existence. Thank you, Morgoth, if you're listening. I really enjoyed it. In any case, we really realize that if we will get booked on other planes, we still have to get to the fucking airport, because you never know. So we go to the airport, and well, we get there. The problem is that we kind of well, I'm in no hurry, because it's still gonna be a while. But Birkal kind of, I don't think he kind of missed to tell me that we really need to go, because my flight leaves in like 2 hours. So we had to get a cab with really short notice. And he's stressed as fuck on the way there, and it's like, it's gonna be, if I run, I will make it.
Oh,
and
no.
then when we're almost at the airport, and he's like, okay, they're closing the gate in 15 minutes. I'm probably not gonna make it. And then his phone beeps, and your flight is delayed 2 hours.
Whoops.
It's like, okay.
Well, I mean, he was
nice.
saved then. Yeah.
Yeah, more or less. So we get to the airport, and well, he goes to the terminal for the Asiatic Hordes, Terminal 3, and I go to the white terminal of Terminal 2. Terminal 2 is the white terminal, of course, because it's painted white. Has nothing to do with anything else. Probably boosted. Yeah, well, in any case. So I get there, and there seems to be a little bit of chaos. Around, say around 5 o'clock, I get a message from the airline that no, your flight has been delayed until 9. At 8, it says it's delayed until 10.
So how
and,
far behind are you? You know, are you 6 hours
it's
after when you
no,
were?
it's no. At this time, it's supposed to leave at 1800 hours. Well, not
Okay, so
really, because
1800 was your original.
no, because they rebooked me because that flight was cancelled because something was broken
Yeah,
on it. So it
so
was
my
really
point is,
supposed to
when were
go a
you
couple of hours
originally
earlier.
supposed to leave?
1608, I think.
Okay, so you're
So
now
4. Around 4.
5 hours behind your
Yeah,
supposed leave time.
and at around 10 o'clock, I get the message from the airline that your flight is not going. Here is your new boarding card. Your flight is leaving at 6:40 in the morning next
Oof.
day. Nice. And
Did you
at
get
this
a
point,
hotel
I
room?
realized that no. At this point, I realized, okay, this is not going to be fun. So let's try to find a hotel room.
Right.
This is not that easy because there's about 50 to 100,000 people in and around Heathrow that has had the same experience
Yeah.
and perhaps has a little bit of a head start on me. So in any case, at around about an hour later, I managed to find a hotel that is close to Terminal 5. So on the other side and on the northern side of Heathrow. So, I have to get my ass from Terminal 2 to Terminal 5 to start with.
All the while, by the way, when this is happening, Charlemagne on Twitter is giving you like live advice.
Yeah, more or less.
Based on his own experience.
Yeah, it was it was a sense of endless humor.
Yeah.
Anyway, then I
Who made this? I made these, Nordanon. I made these to help Leo get home.
We have to meme the home trip into being as well, just to be safe. It's some high level mimetic warfare going on here.
Yeah, you can see you have, it's the check-in guy behind you. By the way, if you go to like London Heathrow's website, they have a bunch of these like photo shoot things with this like model guy who is doing all of these things. So this is where I took him from. And then you have your copy of Revolt Against the Modern World there on your
so I
left.
have something
you
to
got
read
the Prime bottle and keeping you hydrated.
Yeah. No, in any case, so then from Terminal 2 you can get some sort of internal rail line that is part of the London Underground. But so you can go just between the terminals via that, and you can leave the entire area into the rest of the underground network. Not that I did, but in any case, then I had to run into the wonderful and dystopian creation that is the London Underground. I mean, this is the most anti-human
Yep.
place or space that I ever been in. I mean,
if you think like the underground in Oslo or Stockholm is bad, I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, no, it's actually. I mean, those fucking places are. Even the worst station in the Stockholm Underground is damn boy, they're cozy and homely compared to the fucking the London Underground.
Yeah.
Especially because this is probably a newer line, so part of the London Underground. So the full weight of dystopian managerialism has gone into this. It's sparse. It's just hard geometric forms everywhere. The PA system is extremely loud, and it has these little quips about see something, say something, don't hesitate to call the cops on people if I don't know for what, but for something, I guess. And there's a lot of shit just going on that, and they just know. And then they have like a cute little jingle for it, like a little summation. And it's just fucking horrible because it's loud. It's really, really loud. Anyway, so I get to Terminal 5, manages to find my way to because I realize it's a couple of miles to walk or distance to the hotel, so I need to get a cab. go out to the cab point and realize that, okay, there's a 250 meter long queue here for the taxis. And this is not a single line. It's like people standing like 4 or 5 people in depth. So it's probably a couple of thousand people who are standing there. And at that point, because I passed through, because I thought it's so poorly marked up with signs. So it seems like these people are queuing for some kind of bus. Nope, it was for the cabs. So
yeah, that's the thing as well. Advertisements in the UK are very aggressively, what's the word, paused.
Oh yeah. I see Liquid Sons say something about adverts with aggressive ends. Basketball Americans featured. Yeah. The only adverts that I saw on the way down into the underground were with Lissos, 100% Lissos all the way down. So that's something. So in any case, I realized that if and by now it's around midnight. So I think that if I'm going to stand here and wait for a cab, it's gonna be like 3 hours or something like that, and then I'm gonna have like 2 hours to take a shower and a power nap, and then I have to get back to the hotel, to the terminal when it opens at 4:30. So well, it's not raining for once, so I walk. Not there. It's not really designed for. You shouldn't walk around there, but I do it anyway. So essentially, I just fuck off through all the cab where the cabs and the buses come into that space. Where all the whatever you call it in English, and manage to find a bike lane. So I walk that bike lane all the way around, and that takes about 50 minutes or something until I get to all the way around like the Heathrow area from the southern side to the northern side.
To the terminal you're supposed to be at, yeah?
No, from Terminal 5 and then around towards where the hotel is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and when I get to the hotel, sore feet, sweaty, tired, and, really like body's aching, I for some reason, I didn't eat lunch. Because I don't know. So I have
the anger sustained you.
Yeah, more or less. I'm just frustrated, angry. So okay, finally I can get in. Just get it something to drink.
Yeah.
Stupid bun or something. But above all, I need a fucking shower, and then I can just lights out for 4 or 5 hours and then get out of here.
Yeah.
Go into the reception, give them my booking number. Because I used like the hotels.com or something like that, or one of them. I don't actually remember which one I used. And the kind Indian lady looks in her system and informs me that, no, we don't have that booking number here. When did you book this? And I was like, maybe an hour and a half ago. And she's like, well, we have been fully booked since 9:20 this morning. So this is probably, and then she explains that I'm not the first person who has come in with this problem, and she said that the pressure on the English side of the system is so high that it doesn't speak to the hotel databases properly. So it just books rooms that have already been booked.
Jesus.
Yeah. So well, then I managed to use one of the various hotel chains, their internal booking systems, just to check where there might be rooms, and I find a place nearby, take a cab there, stand in line for a while. A lot of people with vouchers from British Airlines to get in there, and ask them, do they have rooms? Yes, they have. They have a couple of suites left that haven't been booked, and they want 720 quid for one of them.
Jesus.
So that comes out at like 1,500 quid. 150 quid an hour for use.
In the interest of time here, did you end up getting any hotel room?
No, it was back to the terminal, sitting on a bench and reading a book and talking on VC with people in the deep floor until the early morning.
Jesus, you didn't. I mean, at that point, why don't you just get like a lounge access? Is that not open in the middle of the night?
No,
maybe
it's not open.
Jesus. Okay.
The thing is that apparently they closed the other side of security, so the terminal and the where all the lounges are, between 22, 10:30 in the evening and 4:30 in the morning. Just close it down, and if people are still in there, just boot them out. So that's exciting.
Okay, so you spent the night in the terminal.
No, not in
And
the
then-
terminal. In the baggage, the hallway where you check in the baggage before you
Oh,
go
yeah,
through
yeah,
security.
yeah.
So the entry hall for departures.
Yeah.
I managed to find a hidden bench around a couple of things that they haven't removed, probably because since they built up something. So like 3 seats. I couldn't lay down on them because they had armrests. But
So
I was
your
just
flight
sitting
was
with my
supposed
feet
to
up.
leave at 6:40 in the morning.
Yeah, 6:40 in the morning.
I have a
And when
feeling
I
that
got
it
into
didn't.
the terminal, I get around. No, it was 5:30 in the morning. I think I get a notice from the airline that it's pushed up to 9. Well, 9:30 departure. Boarding is pushed up until 9 o'clock. So then I start really going, okay, I'm going to be here all fucking day. Great. And by this time, I haven't slept since, I've been awake since 7 in the morning the day before, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
However, the memeing worked, so we actually got to board at 9.
Nice.
Because SAS had managed to. The problem was that they didn't have cabin crew on site because the planes hadn't been coming in. So they actually found arrested cabin crew in Copenhagen, in Denmark, and flew them in on a small plane. That's why they were late, because they took time to arrange that flight, because they thought they could find someone locally, but they couldn't. So yeah, that's it. But after that, it went kind of easily. I mean, plane went up in the air. I blacked out more or less.
Understandable. And you woke up on the runway back home.
No, I it wasn't like I had consistently. I mean,
fair enough. Yeah,
got awake a little bit there and a little bit here, and then when we started our descent, I was awake for that, but that's about it. And then I just took the train home and took a very, very well-earned and delightful shower. That was the best thing in days, actually. Got myself something to eat, and here we
went
are.
to sleep.
No, actually, I didn't, because by then it was 2 in the afternoon.
You don't want to mess up your
So I realized that I have to stay awake at least until 9, or my sleep schedule is going to be fucked up beyond repair. So I slept from like 9, 10, something like that. And
I mean,
got up, woke up like 12, 13 hours later, which was yesterday.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, you got home in the end.
Yeah, I got home.
Yeah.
A bit quicker than Charlie, though. But, at least it's not America over here yet.
And he's not alone anymore. He can relate. As I said, he spent the entire time coaching you on what to do.
Yeah, more or less.
Let's rewind time a little bit here and tackle the last speaker before we get out of here. Which was, can I show that photo? Someone made the I can show that photo, because this is like official this is official Lotus Eater stuff.
Yeah, I think you should be able to do that. There shouldn't be any secret people in that shot.
Nope. Here we have the Dawn of Swindon with his Lotus Eaters. Carl Benjamin Sargon of Akkad was the last speaker. It was a very nice speech. It was a very personal speech. Sargon was basically a call to action to use the tools in front of us, even though we might not like them. Tools such as democracy. And
he was
he laughed a bit at... Yeah, and laughed a bit at the DVD ritual of Morgoth and those kinds of things. It was a
Yeah,
very
he tried,
cozy
he
way.
tried to rip on Matthew Pellegrino's talk a little bit, and fell into the trap of thinking that and scoffing a little bit at the running after the third world. Not having watched the speech, which he also admitted, and then he realized that it was just no one laughed at his joke. It was just dead silent crickets in the
Yeah.
room, and he really quickly picked up on it. Oh,
Yeah, he
I'm out on a limb here, and it's not a good one.
he leapt up with a, I haven't watched the talk, but, and then he made an assumption which wasn't really true. So
Yeah, he put his
what can he do?
he put his foot in there.
Yeah. But he promised that once he watches the talk and he realizes that Matteo has been right about everything all along, he'll make a tweet about it. So keep an eye out for that on Carl Benjamin's Twitter feed. Very nice way to end the weekend. A cap in the feather for me, obviously, as he called out my talk as his personal favorite, which means a lot to me. And after that, it was pretty much just, people broke off and went their separate ways, except a bunch of us who were staying until the next day, who went out to eat at a local pub, which is where I had the picture of the roast lamb from. It was nice, but at that point we were so tired, all of us, that we just ate, had a couple of beers, and then just left.
Yeah, more or less. We were. I don't think any one of us was really in a party mood. It was like, this is enough. This is enough. Now we're getting some food, a couple of drinks.
Yeah,
bed.
and I had to get up
Please,
early to get to the airport, and
Yeah.
So that's in very short, summary, our time at the Witan 2023. Is there anything else you guys would like to add before we leave?
I don't know if I want to stall this out, but I could do the Ethiopian cab driver story that I've talked about on Twitter a little bit.
What was that?
Yeah, do it.
I mean, I don't know why. I mean, because I always end up, I get a taxi usually from Heathrow to the venue, and then from Heathrow, and I was from the venue back to Heathrow again. And like for some reason, when I just chat with these taxi drivers, right, and these talks always get political, even though I don't try to deliberately pull it in that direction, and they seem to get more radical for every talk that I have. Ending with that's where I had the tweet about the last guy who was this kind of Ethiopian cab driver. It sort of started off with him. He started complaining about cashless society. Then we just asked him a little bit, and then he went onto this large tirade about how BRICS with Africa is going to be the next world power. It's going to smash the United States and all this kind of gay shit that's going on there, and how the Bible has predicted all of this sort of woke stuff. He probably watches Turley or something, right? But he was basically passionately angry, almost to the point where he had to sort of apologize to me at the end of the at the end of the cab ride for just getting too intense. While we were sort of getting into that, I mean, it's very interesting that you just have a lot of these kind of low-level people running around in Britain with the imperial ambitions of overthrowing the country from behind the behind the money counter. I don't know if you had some talks with the taxi drivers. You had anything similar? This is just something that happens to me over and over again.
No, I just had. We paid extra, so we actually got English cab drivers.
Hey,
yeah, that might be the key to it. I mean, I honestly don't mind. I mean, last year, it only went so far as he started to talk about the LGBTQ stuff and how he, this was some Middle Eastern guy Rashnish who just basically said that we need to have a Christian Muslim alliance to fight off the LGBTQ stuff in school, but now it's full on Imperium. Africa is going to be the next world superpower. I mean, the interesting stuff that he actually told me is that he sort of generally, I don't know if his sentiment reflects the sentiment of Ethiopians in general, But he basically said that he sort of like he prefers Chinese colonization because they get more jobs. He said that like with the like the what he calls like the Western model, they basically they give
This is the question
yeah.
I posed to Matteo after his talk, in which he basically says that his aims ultimately, indirectly, is colonizing parts of Paraguay. And at what point does the local populace either say, "Yep, you guys are our new masters," or they revolt, right? And I was told, Matteo, because I think we didn't get to any answer on that, you and I was told by a guy from Colombia on Sunday night who was at the event. And he said that looking at neighboring regions, they are very welcome of foreigners who are willing to sort of invest and they're willing to give up a lot of power to basically have things taken care of.
That sounds very promising. But yeah, just to finish the point, he said like the Western style is basically they give first aid and then they take resources. But the Chinese people, they actually build infrastructure and they build factories, right? And that gives job for young African men or something. And they're kind of happy to get the jobs in the infrastructure, even though they know they're sort of being colonized. And I mean, it kind of struck me that this is how the Chinese are going to solve their kind of demographic problem, right? Because they don't have enough young people to work at the factories, so they're just going to build them in Africa and then just ship the stuff from there. That I assume that's kind of what they're trying to do. And I tried to explain that to him, but he sort of didn't understand demographics in a sense. He just assured me that like China has removed the one-child policy and that fixes the problem, even though they're still not having more than one kid per couple over there, right? But
Hans Rosling strikes again, the undefeated champion of overpopulation.
I mean, I even asked the Ethiopian.
It doesn't matter what policies you make. If you make people too comfortable, they stop having kids.
Yeah. Even the Ethiopian just had one kid, right? And it doesn't sort of dawn on him.
They get all of they get money, they get food, they get, and most importantly, they get prevention, right? They get
contraception.
What's it called? Yeah,
contraceptives.
Contraceptives, yeah. Given to them, and then the birth rate plummets.
Yeah, I mean it's even worse for the Browns for some reason, but it's like that just has not dawned on them yet, and like that is going to be the big break for like why this kind of like Africa BRICS project is probably not going to succeed the way. I mean, there's like 100 different reasons for why it's not going to work, but he just wasn't able to process it. And I mean, I made the joke on Twitter that like I'm trying to sort of explain to the guy, like he's talking about like why do you have all this kind of like sinful LGBTQ stuff. It's like it's the same reason you're here, my friend. It's like the logic that allows you to be here is the same logic that allows these people to run our institutions. That's it's kind of the same thing, but well.
Matteo says I'll have to get experience on the ground for feeling out these sensibilities. Do we just follow your Twitter if we want updates on this project, Matteo? I forgot to ask you at the event. Anything else we want to cover before we leave? Wow, It's almost 2 hours. This is in new Longhouse terms. This is insane.
The longest house.
The longest house.
It just kept getting longer.
No, we keep we keep usually a strict 1.5 hour policy these days, and
our women basically tell us that we have to maintain 90 minutes, and we never rebel. Until today, no. This has been a small act of rebellion against our wives.
Yeah. Okay. So follow Matteo Pellegrino on Twitter if you want to see how that project ends up. All right, let's get out of here. It's been too long. It was a lot of fun being at the Witan. I definitely want to go next year. Hopefully, I'll see most of you who are listening now there. All right. Thank you everyone for watching. Do we want to shill stuff before we leave?
It's just the usual stuff. You could follow me on Twitter, Athletic Path, and read Praxarchy. There's going to be some Praxarchy updates now in terms of the a redesign of the website, but I'll announce that on the Twitter as well.
Oh, very nice. Follow Praxarchy. Leo Borealis, you have a Twitter account?
Yeah, it's mostly just nature shit and cat posts. So if you like that, have a peek or don't. It'll be fine.
The internet was intended.
I run it old school. I mean, all this political content isn't really for me, so, you know.
Good stuff. All right. See you all later. See you all next week. Thanks to the Witan, we have some wonderful guests lined up. We don't have any dates yet, but I mean, we got to do a lot of networking, a lot of interesting people. So look out for some high profile stuff coming. All right. Take care.